Advent is the beginning of the Christian year. So in the church year, I should say Happy New Year. And the first scripture that is read, that is heard by the church on the first Sunday of Advent is this. This is what Isaiah, Amos's son, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house will be the highest of the mountains. It will be lifted up above the hills, and peoples will stream to it. Many nations will go and say, "Come, let's go up to the Lord's mountain, to the house of Jacob's God, so that God may teach us the ways, and we may walk in God's paths." Instruction will come from Zion, the Lord's word from Jerusalem. God will judge the nations and settle disputes of mighty nations. Then they will beat their swords into iron plows and their spears into pruning tools. Nation will not take sword up against nation. They will no longer learn how to make war. Come, house of Jacob, let's walk by the Lord's light. The word of life for this day.
Thanks be to God.
When you looked at your bulletin, there's a picture on the front cover. And you may have wondered what that has to do with the first Sunday of Advent. Shovels, yes. Pedro Reyes is an artist who lives and works in Mexico City. He is an artist of some stature. His hometown is a small village in northern Mexico, nearer the border with the U.S. And it, like so many border towns, is racked by violence. Gun violence, especially. And so what Pedro Reyes thought that he might be able to do to address this problem in his hometown was to take this scripture from Isaiah literally. And so he got help and he got donors, and they put out a campaign that people could turn in guns and receive a coupon for some electronic or household device, something good for their home. And so it was well done, and many people responded and turned in weapons in exchange for this coupon, so that he could use these weapons for his art project. It turned out that 1,527 guns were collected, about 1/3 of them military-style guns. And so what Pedro Reyes was doing was taking these and turning these weapons into tools for planting, following Isaiah literally. And so they took these weapons to a military base and dismantled them, and then had them run over with a steamroller to pulverize so that they could be melted down and formed into shovels. And so with 1,527 guns, he made 1,527 shovels. These then went first to some art exhibits, and then were distributed to schools and to art institutions that they might each shovel plant at least one tree. And so his image he has now shifted his focus to something else. And he is still collecting guns and now turning them into musical instruments. They're not pulverized this time. You can still see the parts that were weapons, and they are turned into musical instruments, taking something that caused death, which now can make music. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, it says. Modern people might not have any idea what a plowshare really is, and so we could say they shall transform their weapons of violence into tools for planting and gardening. So these words, this scripture about justice and peace and transforming tools of destruction into tools of growth is the first scripture, the first Sunday of the Christian year. And it ends with this sentence, "Let us walk in the light of the Lord." Now, what Isaiah says is that many peoples, diverse peoples, all kinds of people are drawn to this message of God, this message that brings peace, captivated by God's message, a radical word that many peoples will stream to hear God's message and then work for peace. And it may be so radical that it's really kind of unbelievable. As much as we may long for a day when weapons are laid down and hearts are transformed and peace prevails, as all kinds of people who have differences are drawn together, as much as we want to see that happen, I think we find it hard to believe that such a day will literally, actually come. A day when all is calm and all is bright. Well, one of the questions that John Wesley asked, that is now still asked of every person getting ordained, is, do you believe that you are going on to perfection in this life? And yes, people chuckle when that question is asked. And if you're getting ordained, you have to say yes. I mean, that's the answer. But you have to think that through. I mean, do you really think that you're going to become perfect? But if you don't think that, then what would be the reason of working for it? If you don't think it could possibly happen, why would you put so much effort into working for something? You wouldn't really work that hard, right? If you thought, well, this is never going to happen. Oh, well, why bother? It is the believing that something should and can happen that will draw people to work for it. So it is with this idea that peace is possible. So in these past few days, you may or may not have gone shopping. You, no doubt, saw plenty of ads, commercials, trying to get you to start to form your ideas of a perfect gift to get somebody. And so as we've launched now into Christmas season, this gift-buying, gift-giving season, this is a season of planning, too. Planning for that perfect party. Planning for the perfect feast. And thinking about what will be the perfect gift for this person that I care about. Isaiah describes it, is the perfect gift. Because what God is giving is justice. It says that God will judge between the nations. They won't have to fight anymore. God will judge between them. God will bring together people with differences. Inequities will be balanced and wrongs made right. And that is justice. And that is God's gift to the people. And it's justice that leads people to do this amazing thing and say, hey, we don't need our weapons anymore. Let's turn them into plowshares. And the thing to notice about that is that God does not beat the weapons into plowshares. The people do. The people do that in response to God's gift of justice. When the playing fields are leveled and wrongs are made right, and anger is transformed into calm, when those who have differences can be brought together, that is God's gift to us. That is justice. And the prophet says then our response is that we don't need to fight with one another. We don't need to learn war anymore. And so things are transformed and weapons are transformed maybe into shovels, tools that are all about life rather than death. And there is power in believing that peace can actually happen. The power of that is that if it is real, when people, when individuals can work for peace, then that is the power. And maybe working for international peace is just so big beyond us, but there is peace in our lives, peace in our own homes, peace in our own families where we can start. And that is power. To work for peace among those who have differences. And so the story tells us that a star, a light, shone bright